Advisory. The video to come is in no way disrespecting or excluding the spiritual systems that were created by our ancestors. I am simply advising an alternative to non-ether people who do not know the origin of culture or heritage due to the enslavement done by six ether beings. I am also proposing that if the system you practice is corrupted, plagiarized, or missing parts, you are to create a new spiritual system that answers the problems and life solutions of a set of people. Thank you and enjoy the video, my black people. One thing that we have to be sure of is that we are not caught up within the mythological stories that has been given to us since the beginning of time. And when I mean beginning of time, I mean since our birth. Since the beginning of time, we probably have been given particular stories concerning Adam and Eve and Jesus coming back and, the resurrection and so on and so forth. You could have been born in Islam and you believe that there's Muhammad and there's, the Mehdi, if I said that right, or the Mehdi, who's going to come back, And these particular perceptions, even concerning Greek mythology and concerning Hinduism, Buddhism, everything concerning Yoruba and Igbo and the Ashanti people, the Dogon people, you have particular spiritual systems that were created that were to give the narration of astrological events in the life in the universe and in things concerning the anatomy of our body, because as within, so without, as above, so below. That's essentially what every story that you see in the Bible is about. Every story that you see outside of you, outside of the Bible, every story that you see on TV, has that symbology. You see a lot of these artists who very likewise reflect these particular stories and characters. You'll probably see Beyonce and she'll dress up like Madonna. She'll dress up like Offset. You'll see these particular artists out here that call themselves Asar. Another person out here that call themselves by a particular names that have these strong, significance or symbolic things behind it, and you don't even realize it. And Europeans have grabbed a hold of our knowledge and have used it against us, and we take our knowledge for entertainment. We watch our story literally before our eyes. Now, the people who may be portraying these particular characters may not be the very reflection of those things, but these people are portraying our story, and they're literally putting it in our face as a form of mockery. So it's ridiculous how we have not grabbed a hold of our true knowledge and understanding of who we are. A lot of us, we're still walking around thinking Jesus is going to come back. Yahweh Shai HaMashiach is going to crack the sky open. And the 2/3 are going to be condemned and in captivity. We still think the white man is going to be captivated someday by this black man who's going to come with 144,000. We fell for the hoopla. We have fell for the hoopla. We don't even realize it. We're still here thinking that Jesus is gonna come back. We're still here thinking that he's gonna make a way out of no way. He's gonna come down with his chariots and he's gonna take us up. We still fall for the hoopla. While they still continue to study our mystical knowledge concerning our bodies, concerning how we are formulated, concerning things concerning astrology and what they can do in terms of so much more, that I can't really get into. But this is when we concern ourselves with the Bible, when we concern ourselves with all these forms of narrations, whether it's Haru or Shango or whoever the name, whatever the place may be, whatever types of narrations, even when you deal with different stories and narrations, with Asar, because you do have different stories and different versions of the Asar Aset and Haru story. You have different versions of the Shango story. You have different versions of the Buddha story, because there were different versions of the story, just like you have different versions of Batman, different versions of Spider-Man, different versions of Superman. They are copying the way that we story told. They're copying the way that we narrated our science, our spirituality, and it's not so much more for us to be reflecting our life on the story as so much to the principles that's reflected in these stories. You see what I'm saying? So whether which story is true or not does not matter. Whether it really happened or not, whether Jesus walked on water, whether Moses spread the Red Sea, it doesn't matter, because it's talking about something more than that. It's talking about something higher than that. It's talking about your mind. It's talking about the anatomy of your body. It's talking about the astrological events in the sky. It even tells you in the Bible to to look in the sky for signs and wonders. They're talking about knowledge. They're talking about the constellations. They're talking about Orion. You see what I'm saying? But we so captivated upon what they gave us, we fell for the hoopla. We fell. We've been in cahoots. We've been had. You know what I'm saying? And it's ridiculous that we continue to fall for this instead of realizing that we are the true, beings of this earth, the original people of this earth. We are the 9 ether beings of this earth. And we have the ability to create our own reality. We have the ability to create our own spirituality, to create our own stories. If we are a set of people who don't know who we are and where we came from, we have the ability to create our origin of who we are and where we come from. We have the ability to establish who we are. If we have somewhere down the line forgotten who we are, well, let's establish anew. But let's also be organized in that as well. Let's not be off track. Let's also be organized and establish who we are, with a set of laws and a set of principles, because even in the Bible tells you that everything that you do must be in order. So, we have to set down a ground of principles, because that's the way that the universe operates. That's the way that the nature operates, the nectar. So, we have the ability to create our own spirituality. We have the ability to create our own spiritual systems. We have the ability to create our own quote-unquote Bible, because there's no holy Bible better than the other. All of them are man-made. They're just describing narrations concerning our higher self and our lower self. The story that you see in the Bible are no different than particular events that you see in the Odyssey, particular events that you see on television. You see what I'm saying? On Netflix, on Hulu, whatever the case may be. They're the same stories telling the same narration essentially at the end of the day. And you have the ability as the black man and the black woman to do the same thing and create your own spirituality. You have the ability to create your own spiritual systems and access the very powers of Oshun, of Ogun, Aset, and Asar. And you can give these particular powers new names. You can give these particular powers a new set of narrations concerning what it means, as long as you have order. You see what I'm saying? Because everything concerning the very powers is essentially talking about the same thing. But, a lot of people aren't ready to hear that because they're so, captivated by what they've been given, what they've been conditioned and programmed to believe. All their life, they've been going to church believing Jesus is coming back. All their life, they've been thinking that Muhammad is going to come back, or whatever the case may be. All their life, they've been thinking that Yahweh Shai is going to come back and bring chariots to come down and take them up. All their life, they've been captivated in cahoots to this lie that has been given to them, that has been fed to them even through slavery. Knowledge has been hidden from a lot of people. And, the majority of the masses of people do not conceive that at all. If you go out and about and you ask people about Jesus, they'll say, oh, he's my Lord and Savior. He's coming back soon. And they don't realize that Jesus is not a person. He's a perception. He is consciousness. He is your inner self. He is your higher self, right? He's a representative of your higher self, of consciousness, of enlightenment. Talking about Jesus is no different than talking about Buddha. It's no different than talking about Haru. It's no different than talking about Krishna. Because when you even look at the different aspects of spiritual systems, they're all talking about the same thing. What we see in this day and age is that we see people making scripts and texts and narrations as we did thousands of years ago. And what people have did is that they have took the narrations and stories from the past and have created cults. It just keeps going on and on and on concerning these various stories, but we take it as entertainment. We take it as religion. We take it for a literal stance. You know what I'm saying? Instead of you believing that Christ is within you and that you can access this very potential energy within you, you think in Christ is outside of you. You think Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach is outside of you. And you're abiding by the 10 commandments, which there's no problem with that at all. There's no problem with you practicing morality. If you consider or you continue to think that the Most High is outside of you instead of thinking that the Most High is within you, you're limiting yourself. I'm not saying you can't live a good life. There are a lot of people who live a good life and they think like this. But you're going to limit yourself mentally. because not only are you limiting yourself under pressure in terms of knowledge and understanding, but you're also limiting yourself because of fear. A lot of people, they don't want to get out of them chains because of fear. They don't want to leave the church because of fear. They don't want to let go of certain things because of fear. You know, the fear that has been instilled in them that if I don't go this way, you know, if I don't listen to these particular people, if I don't abide by Christianity, if I don't abide by, you know, being an Israelite or a Muslim, you know, I'm going to hell. You know, something bad is going to happen to me in times to come. You know, I'm going to be punished by the Most High because I have been obeying His word. You know, all these perceptions that these particular leaders, quote unquote, have put in your head, instead of you perceiving the essential message of the universe. The essential message of the universe is that you are what you attract and you are whatever you put out. That is the essential message. The essential message is that everything is mental. All is mind. You know, you are Allah. You are arm, leg, arm, head. You are all law. When you abide by the law, you abide by the very perceptions, cosmic laws of the universe, the law of rhythm, the law of gender, the law of cause and effect. Everything that concerns you concerns cause and effect, you know, and everything that concerns you in terms of spirituality has to do with duality, has to do with good and evil, you know, and it coexists. Even the Bible says that everything that you do must be in order, you know. That's why you have laws. That's why you have principles in every spiritual system, a way that people coordinate themselves, a uniform, and in a government, you know. So everything you must do must be done in order. There must be some form of organization in the various spiritual aspects that you practice. There must be no disorder. There must be no dysfunction if you are going to go about your own way and create your own spiritual systems as our ancestors have done. You know, and when we concern ourselves with spirituality, we're dealing with cultural values, because anytime that we created a new culture, it was because this was going to be a new solution for the problems of our people, you know. And you will have to ask the question, well, are the things that we are practicing now solving the conditions in which we are in, internally and externally, as a people? That's something you have to ask yourself. So there is nothing wrong with you creating your own spirituality. You know, for you as an individual, for your family, you create a set of rules and regulations, a spiritual pathway for your family or yourself individually to practice that is organized and functional, you know. Have at it. There's no law according to the universe against that, because the essential law is that you are what you attract. You are whatever you put out, you know. As above, so below, as within, so without. That is the essential laws, you know. So when you're dealing with that, as long as you have that organization, you have that principle within your system, you're good. You see what I'm saying? But what Christianity, what the main religions teach you is that you're going astray. You know, you're having these false teachings, you know. And what's crazy is that the same gospel that is in the Bible is the same gospel that is in Hinduism, the same gospel that is in Buddhism, the same gospel that is in the Yoruba culture and the Igbo culture. They're all talking about the same thing in terms of enlightenment. But if you take everything so literally, and you don't read between the lines, and you don't analyze and dissect these particular things and study for yourself, you're going to continue to be out here like a flock.